Gentlemen,
Justin,
Hey Justin, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
are you warm?
I'm wearing a fleece. Warm enough.
That's fair. Look at it. But you got everything now, or how are you doing?
Yeah, we've had power on for the last night or so.
Okay.
That's been nice. We have gas, and water's been consistent. So we're totally. I mean, this is just a camping trip for me.
Fair enough.
Fine. Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, generally, and Chris can chime in however, but we're kind of here to, help with anything that's needed. We don't necessarily, at least I don't have an agenda for anything, but if you needed some help, second set of eyes, or some questions to think through, we would be available,
Okay.
unless Chris has something outstanding. You got anything, Chris? Nope.
I mean, the only thing, if we can kind of address the spreadsheets, the actual like CL stuff to
Right.
the P&L you sent is only. I have some questions around that, but
Okay. And Chris, just one quick catch up. You saw that actuals thing, right? So the catch up that didn't get recorded is that we looked at the numbers, and then Justin came back and he was like, actually that number is not 8,000, it's 13,000. So how are we gonna figure that out? So basically we ate, CL group ate 5, he ate about 5, and then I suggested that the other $3,200 would come out of the systems architect budget for what's been built up so far. And Justin thought that was agreeable in the grand scheme of things. I think I don't want to speak for you, but just summary. And that's that. So that's just one piece that's missing from the video that we've had before. So I'm fully caught up. That's it.
Yeah, Chris, you want to just? I don't know if I can. Can I share my screen, or is that possible?
Give it a second. Yeah, he's gonna turn it on.
Okay.
It's off by default, but because I basically got, I've got the P&L, and I've got the roadmap, and I've got the actuals thing.
Okay, this might look a little different than yours, Tim, because I broke one off and I tried to really clean it up for you. So this is mine, just kind of keep track of everything. That should be basically the same. You can see my screen here with the cursor.
Yep.
Okay.
No problem.
So these are the jobs that we've done so far.
Oh, that's dope. Everything's completed pretty much?
Yes. So we haven't been paid for either one of these two, but they are done. The only update to this job was that his lot number went down. So we had to bill him for the correct amount. So it originally said like 7,300 or something. So now it's 5,950.
Okay.
And
well,
yeah, that was annoying.
Yeah.
So
good learning. That's it.
That's exactly right. So,
No
and then
more
this,
of that.
that's right. And this column here is it's not a job, it's the payment correction. So I just basically put the payments in this to square everything up. So these payments are what everybody should be. Let's see. That's not. Now I'm confusing myself. So this is what they are going to get. I don't actually have a column for what the correct number is for you guys, but basically I took the money out of like my portion and distributed it here, and then there's your 5,000 that and then the system architect 32,189.
See it. I see that.
Okay. So I don't actually have a column for, I mean, you can, if we did this, you could see, or no, it would be right here. So this is what like my projection was, and then this is the according to the proper numbers what it should be.
Actual. Okay. Yeah. So if we add all those correct totals to date, that should equal total revenue, right?
Yes.
Like absolutely. The column P, correct totals to date in a column P right there. So all of these should be total revenue.
Let's see. So correct totals to date is basically what I'm paying the guys and what you guys should be seeing.
Okay.
So it's a
So-
little bit of both in this column. I know it's hyper confusing right now. I'm sorry for
No,
that.
no. So no, it's okay. So if you select all those cells, just for me, just real quick, select all those blue cells in a column P. Yep. And then there should be the sum thing, 94, 460, whatever.
Uh-huh.
And then if you select the blue cells across in row 15, which is revenue minus pass through, if you select that, yeah, sideways, 97. So there's some kind of a $3,000 difference for something.
Yeah. I'm not sure where that comes from. It,
Okay, that's okay. You can figure that out later.
Yeah.
I just,
Okay.
roughly, if you want to share that with us or whatnot,
Yeah.
whatever. So
Some of that might be right here is, maybe it's like Stothy. There's a couple of fees that didn't get accounted for in the invoices that should have been pass throughs, but I didn't get the information until after we already billed them. So then we at the company basically ate it.
okay,
That makes sense.
gotcha. Yeah, I understand.
I'll look
Okay.
for that stuff. Now I forgot what the point was of me showing you this entirely.
Chris was asking a question about P&Ls tying to this, I think.
Oh, yes.
Is that right, Chris?
Sorry.
No worries.
And you guys got the P&Ls I just emailed a few minutes ago. Okay.
Yep.
And let me see if I can. Every time I do Zoom, I don't know where my stuff is.
No worries, no worries.
So, and I just kind of reconciled every single expense and all that stuff. So this should be as accurate as possible. I had to move a couple of the invoices so they hit in January because they actually hit in 2020.
Okay.
So this is pretty this is accurate as it should be. The reason that this number right here and my spreadsheet are different is because we haven't been paid. All right, haven't been paid for this job, or this job.
Okay. So this should be technically in sales and then in accounting receivable, right?
Yes, that's right. And
Okay.
I don't have that yet because I just rebuilt all this, to kind of.
No worries, no worries. You're doing cash accounting basically.
Yes. But and then, in this FreshBooks thing, they have all the other accounts if you guys wanted to see anything specifically. I
So
don't know if
just quick, Justin. So based on the accounts that you say you've gotten paid on,
Uh-huh.
it comes to 66.5, and the total on the P&L is 53.
Let's see. That's correct. So let me write that down. 553. Yeah, that's a pretty big discrepancy. So where does that come from?
Jay, I don't think we need, I don't have a lot of energy around figuring this out now.
Okay. Oh, all right. Yeah.
I think Chris just is pointing it out. And my question to that would be just like kind of a, light question. All of this accounting, keeping track of that stuff, how does that feel for you? Is that like a, genius zone, or is that excellence or kind of competence? Is that a good use of your time?
It is a good use of my time in that it helps me see kind of from the bird's eye view what's going on. It's certainly not something I want to do, but something I should do.
Okay.
Yeah.
At least in the beginning.
Yes.
Okay. Well, it should be done.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just a question of who does it. So
right.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
if I'm not, then I have to pay someone else to do it. So I'd rather just get better at it and make it quicker. And also, it's kind of, I'm trying to still figure out how to like put this into acting kind of. I'm like, all right, I never actually had to do this. So
yeah, I've never figured out the acting part either. So no big deal.
Yeah. All right, so I
Okay.
got a little bit of cleanup on that. I'm not really sure where that number came from, but I'll figure that out. It's probably something to do with the way the expenses are shown or something.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're caught up on stuff. So, you know, do you got kind of do you want to go over the roadmap or P&L or anything else that that could be helpful to have a set of eyes on?
Sure, I'll just put this up here. This is a little roadmap.
Mhm.
So we can see that. I probably don't need this up here. But this is, here we go. Just my little roadmap that I made. Kind of day one, and just was like, this is what I think we can achieve. You guys probably already talked about this. I looked at this earlier before we got on this call.
Mhm.
And the thing that stood out to me the most is just Stathi's involvement in general. Aside from, I'm kind of reevaluating if we need another analyst based on, we're going to be retargeting, taking fewer larger jobs. So this might not need to come to fruition. And the way that I'm running the teams currently, I may not need a PM either. The only role I might farm out at some point in the future is like a sales role, just coming out of my pay to help just
Mhm.
kind of knock those doors down. But that's actually, do you guys have any opinions on that since we're talking about it? Just kind of using
Yeah.
utilizing a salesperson, inside sales.
I guess my question would be like, what are all the hats that you're wearing now? Like now that we're really into it, what are the buckets of time? How you spend it now?
I would say, I should have wrote this down before this meeting. Marketing, definitely one of them. I share that with Stathi for certain, but it's more like conceptually, I haven't truly deployed anything. And I think the main reason for that is like there's a few little like websites and stuff that you can sign up for that we've been talking about to target, like sniper fire target very particular customer segments.
Mhm.
And those all have like a recurring fee or something. And I just honestly didn't want to put them on my credit card yet. So haven't deployed any of that stuff.
Okay.
Haven't even got to the YouTube things. Have been barely dabbling in the forums, trying to get into the forums and answer questions when they pop up.
Mhm.
So marketing, definitely sales hat, just answering phone calls and talking to the customers. Again, Stathi does the lion's share of the actual communication, and I just sit on the phone and listen and, chip in where I can. Definitely the project manager hat of like, making sure everybody's progressing on time and kind of refocusing the guys when I see a little bit of lag on a certain project. Cause like prioritizing all of the tasks that come in at the same time, especially in that beginning when we had like 7 deals at the board at the same time, was a little bit challenging.
Okay.
I don't know if I call this system architect or operations, but
Mhm.
making sure that like the communication across the board, managing the communication is a whole thing with, Stathi uses like email, text message, Slack, Asana, LinkedIn, Facebook.
That stuff, yeah.
Yeah. So like trying to consolidate that into a single channel and deliver the communication to the guys.
Mhm.
And then, making sure that we're adhering to like a normal business schedule of like not trying to work 24/7.
Yeah.
Not necessarily.
Mhm.
So operations systems, just tying in all this SaaS junk.
Mhm.
Let's see what else.
So marketing, operations, sales, right? Those are the big ones. What am I missing?
Yeah.
I'm missing one.
PM, if just
Yeah.
general project manager type,
Probably HR.
and HR.
Good call.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. So those are the 5 probably.
Yeah.
Um, if you thought about those, which ones do you feel like is easy and like you're good at it?
I want to add a 6th hat. I'm just going to call it like CEO, but just because I don't have a term for it, but that's like vision planning, like looking forward and trying to like.
That's big hat. No, totally right.
Yeah,
Like getting out of the weeds and looking at the big picture.
that's right.
Yeah. All right, cool. 6. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So which ones are like, if you had to rank them or even like separate them into groups of easy and I'm good at it versus not either one of those, or definitely like not fun. What
Yeah,
are those?
So marketing and sales is one, and then everything else. So I guess it's hard to wear that hat when I don't exactly know like what or how to sell this yet. So
Yeah.
it's I think that'll get easier the more like deep understanding that I have, where I'm not kind of fumbling the ball around when I'm trying to answer questions.
Right.
I
That
don't
makes sense.
Yeah. And I don't particularly care for like BSing people and just kind of using fluff to like, communicate with clients.
Uh-huh.
I like to hear like, hey, I'm glad you guys have this service. I'm like, thank you. It's very good. Like there's, I, I don't know.
That's good. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. Okay. Okay. Do you have any questions, Chris? Okay. So your original question was like, what is our thought in terms of in-house salesperson?
Yes. Just kind of somebody to help.
Yeah. My general feedback is kind of to be like, okay, so this, for us, the whole idea of like the genius zone, right? Like what is easy for you? And for your genius zone, I don't really know how that really applies. So it's like in terms of what is easy for you and what is, just fun. Like, so that's what I would optimize and then run that against what is valuable. So for this business, when I think about it is, I think having strong systems to make sure all that stuff is good is important. I think HR piece, making sure being connected with the team, making sure everybody is good, and feeling how they're doing is important. And then sales is the third one. So sales cures a lot of things. So as long as you can sell and then deliver and people are happy, that's it. And I think that's a lot. And then the part of that involves the CEO hat, which is like step ahead of the game. If I'm going to go sell and we get 10 jobs, like, how does that influence, what I'm saying, like, is that possible to do? And that's where all those capacity questions and hiring questions go in there. So that's kind of how I see that. And honestly, you have this right here, deep dive into industry. You have to understand how this thing works. It will be very uncomfortable for me to write trial something I don't fully understand. And Staffy is a lot more into like online marketing. I'm not that person. I don't have that skill. I would go and call and build a relationship with every broker that I know and try to think and understand why would this service help a broker? Or if not, then why would this service help a buyer? And then just, give them some data. I'm like you, like here's, on our last 5 jobs, we found $58,000 worth of stuff average. People were able to renegotiate $45,000 off the purchase price and they paid 15.
Yeah.
And they have no surprises about it. So, I think when you have that data, you don't need to sell anything.
Right.
You just need to, put it in front of people.
Yeah.
Which is actually a good question. How much of stuff did you find in these jobs?
Define stuff.
Stuff that a seller would likely go, that a buyer would likely go and renegotiate with a seller.
We found a ton. So much stuff. some of it's kind of like, it's in a gray area though, where you're like, it's a as is purchase, you know? So you're like, well, that's that's the roads, like, or whatever, so, but like one of them, like on that tiny Amir job, I mean, they were saying the guy in the purchase contract had 68 and the county only recognized 43 or something like that. So, I mean, that was a huge discrepancy.
Right.
And, he like, and then like after speaking with the county at length multiple times, they were like not favorable to parks at all. So like the likelihood of him reinstating or getting access to those lots is almost non-existent. So he has to go now back to the seller and say, hey, look, this valuation is totally off, or I'm paying more per pad, if you will.
Yeah. So basically he would have paid for 20 pads that legally did not exist.
Correct.
And if it was 20 grand on average, which is light, I don't know how much the price was, this could be a $400,000 mistake.
That's right.
Yeah. To me, I don't know. That's just how my brain works. Quantifying that data, that's the sales.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it. So, so it's, in terms of inside salesperson, I don't know how much of that person is needed, because the proposition itself is just like, here's your ROI, and it's straight up.
Yeah, that's true. It's true.
So for me, it's more like understanding and then getting the right people, and then maybe putting that data in a way that's very easily understood.
Yes, that's a good point. Maybe the correct way for me to look at it is to have some kind of marketing person that's more focused on that nerdy kind of, social media content, all that stuff.
So on that point, would there be value on quantifying what you find, the value of those, like kind of tracking that for a little while to like build that data for the sales?
Yes, 100%. So I will start doing that.
I mean, I don't know if you even provided in a report, but I think that might be a pretty good thing to show the seller of the buyer, so they see the ROI on their investment.
Right.
Whether they negotiate it or whether they dodge the bullet. Because if you did that, you can kill two birds with one stone. Maybe Hugh can do that, and then you can just collaborate that data and use it for marketing.
So I built a little form, for the Net Promoter Score feedback survey thing. Mm-hmm. And on that, it says like, and I have it kind of automated to go out like, I don't know, 30 days or something after we receive payment. Hopefully they close the job or close the deal by then. And then they'll be able to answer the question is, were you able to see a reduction from our work? So that question is asked of them directly. I don't know if it is as impactful if we provide it, if we say like, oh, here's the, what we think you should save. And then it kind of gets into that gray area where it's like,
yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
I mean?
Maybe just do it maybe just do it internally.
Yeah.
Does that change though on the sophistication of the investor?
How so?
I would argue the sophistication of the investor that number will be dependent on that sophistication and their understanding of what things actually cost. I think there's probably discrepancy between people that are buying that, like, if I bought something, I might think, oh, it's a $20,000 value. Tim does this all day long. He knows it's a $500,000 value.
Right. Yes.
That's fair.
It absolutely does. And it we give, so like we've been trying to put together like a CapEx range, like a sensitivity for clients. We're like, okay, if we see that this is broken, here's our industry worst case scenario and industry best case scenario, like kind of low and high, just total ballpark, tennis racket swing at this thing. And that might, maybe we could use the averages from that to come up with a number and use that in marketing. But yes, it completely changes, Chris. I mean,
interesting.
Yep. And also in their negotiations too, like if they go to they go to the seller and say this, and then the seller's like, nope, and they just buy it anyway or something.
Yeah, that's true. That's been happening.
Yeah.
Just with the market being insane.
Right.
Okay. Well, how do you feel about the sales funnel in general? How is that going? And
Well, I felt really good about it like a couple weeks ago, and then just like, now I don't. So it's just one of those entrepreneurial up down things.
So on that, Justin, is there a
Yeah.
way to flatten that out rather than it being lumpy? Because I imagine, right, if I was in your shoes, you don't have work, so you try to go get a bunch, and then you have a bunch of work, and you're trying to manage that process, and you kind of the other side falls off. So you're creating the lumpiness for yourself versus. I'm just asking: is there a better maybe approach, or you allocate time or effort a certain way just to kind of try to flatten it?
In that last company with Bill and Chad, like, we talked about doing that same thing, like flattening the kind of the curve. Like, how do we keep this spike out of a certain part of the year? And my best answer was, you do that through marketing. You try, and what that translates to of what I have control over maybe is it's either direct effort into like contacting people or pricing, kind of like adjusting pricing instead of having it posted and fixed.
yeah,
That's a
you could have
whole,
dynamic pricing. Yeah, it's a whole other thing.
that is a whole other thing.
Okay.
So maybe that's not the answer, but yes, there is definitely a way to manage that better than scrambling reactively every time. Like, I'm not sure if you're being Socratic or you're actually, asking a question, but I'll think on that.
Okay, so as far as deal flow, is there any action steps that you want to take, or have you talked to Staffy? Is he going to help out with this early? Anything, to get that revved up?
We've been working on, so yes, one of the main things that I wanted to do was just start an email marketing campaign just to stay in touch with people and start getting the word out there. And I put together this list of like the 100 biggest park owners in the country, and just gonna start, hitting everybody. He's about to give me all of his LinkedIn contacts. I guess he's got a whole mess of those, and we're just waiting on filtering those, I guess, to the appropriate list. So it makes sense.
Okay.
And then I'm going to start hammering those folks too. So that's our biggest push, was just email marketing and those two kind of places. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think we'll find out by next month. I mean, what's the
Yeah.
timeline on getting that executed?
It's kind of waiting on him to put that together. As soon as he finishes the list from his LinkedIn contacts, emails are ready to go.
Okay, so we'll know within 30 days if that works or not.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
But that might be enough to do, period, or not. So it's worth experimenting.
Yep.
On the transition piece, how is that going? I talked to Stuffy briefly, but like the goal of getting him out of the business, what's your feel, and how do you feel about all that?
I had a couple of points I wanted to talk to you guys about when we kind of finished the upfront stuff. Oh, this is one of them. Yeah. So I called it like an MVP, but it's like minimum viable product, but of the team. Like, what does the team need to absolutely be able to do? And Chris, like a JQR, like what is what are the actual, like, you need to do this, these are the 10 things that you have to do to be able to me run this company, or Spencer do recon, whatever. So I need to sit down with Stathi and like have him make that list so it's black and white, and say, when you can perform these actions, the transition's over, and it's not like a subjective, like, oh, you guys should do this, you guys should do this, and it's just every day it's like another 15 things in 15 different communication mediums, so
I could see where that'd be frustrating.
A little bit sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. I think that makes sense. And that's kind of Stafi's personality. He's the tinkering person who figures out these things, which is his
Totally.
genius. But
Yeah.
I can totally see what you mean. From my conversation with him, he said that it's because, and that was expected to me, but I don't know for him, but
Totally.
that it would take a little time for you guys to understand the industry to the point that for him is almost second nature.
Yeah.
Just so, you know, in communication with clients, different things, everything's clear. And he told me that he thought it probably, putting the software in place would be that key that would make sure that he could, you know, repeatable process that he could exit out of that process. So that's what he communicated to me. Do you have any thoughts on that? Have you looked at that at all, or is that, you know?
I'm assuming the software, you mean the recon report specifically?
I think so. Yeah. I think it's that the inspection, home inspection or whatever inspection software that can be fully customized to just go through it and that kind of thing.
Yep. So I guess if I'm hearing this correctly, I'm kind of inferring some with what I'm about to say.
Sure.
I believe that Stathi believes Hugh is pretty much there on being able to handle the offsite.
Okay.
Where we are experiencing tremendous subjectivity is in the delivering of the recon / onsite report.
Okay.
Because it's basically a Word document that consists mostly of verbiage and a couple pictures.
Okay.
So as you can imagine, if you're just typing out I don't know, let's call it a 15-page paper, it's just a lot of copy. You know, it's a lot of just blah, 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 blah. Instead of like, we found this, yes, no, or low, medium, high, low, medium, high. You know, it's not a checklist. It's a dialogue. And when you have that dialogue, it's very subjective, and it's totally just being driven by Stathi's personal experience at this point. So when we get that software, it's going to transition from this kind of talking recorded on paper to like, here's a picture of this, and this is what that means to you as a customer.
Like a checklist.
Very much like a checklist.
Would there be value in doing that now?
We're doing it.
Okay.
Yep. It's in process. So,
okay.
Like it was, I mean, after the first job in North Carolina, I was like, this sucks. Like we have to change this immediately. And then Spencer was like pulling his hair out. He's like trying to write this stuff. And it was just a mess. You know, then we were copying and pasting from like old Microsoft Word templates, and, you know, hilarious growing pains. I mean, it's good. You know, I'm just watching the show like, okay, so we can't do this again. You know, like, I mean,
good.
Yeah.
No, it's very valuable for somebody to not be in the weeds and think about how to solve the problem where somebody else is just like pouring the water out of the boat. So
that's right. Yeah. Just put the finger on the hole.
Yeah. Okay. So that's already in progress, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
So that piece is in progress. And if that's what he feels comfortable with, I'm glad maybe we could skip that JQR or that thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's what he told me. He's like, I think that needs to be set up. And once it's that, you know, that's great. Let's move on. And that's, you know, I mean, then I will feel comfortable. So, okay. You got any more thoughts on this? Anything with the software transition? Any other questions on that?
The biggest thing that remains outstanding for me is account, like admin access for bank account. Or power of attorney or whatever to kind of officiate that I'm running the company and that I can, get a credit card and put all the travel expenses and all the Google stuff on that instead of mine.
Your person. Yeah, it makes sense. So we are in the process of, we got an understanding of everything in the process, and this might be a good kind of, way to bring it up as far as the legal portions of it. And this is what we need to, this came up in our conversation with Justin, Chris, just about like small decisions or whatever decisions that Justin is making, how do we involve in that? How are we not involved in that? And his point was, I think, basically like, if you guys are going to be involved and I can't just make decisions, then just you guys make decisions. I don't want to, or let me just have the whole power and make them. And I'm okay with either one. I mean, maybe one less than the other, but just not the middle ground. So, and to me, I was like, I have no desire in making decisions, small decisions for you. So from our conversation, like one of the questions was, if we have a bunch of money left over at the end of the year, what do we, from the other overhead or systems engineer part, do we distribute it? Do we not? What's the best for the company? And I said, that probably is something that would need to be authorized by the board. But otherwise, small decisions, however you want to do them, is fine. And then we talk monthly, and if something went wrong, great, we'll learn from it. I mean, that was kind of the feel. But with that, I want to kind of let you know for big decisions what the format is. And Staffy and I discussed about it. That's the last piece in our decision making is, there's going to be 5 board seats, basically total. And because I asked Staffy kind of, and we went back and it made sense, because to me, certain vision made sense. And for him, it makes sense too, but maybe not day one. And I was like, okay, that also makes sense. So there's 5 board seats total. And then effectively he would start having 3, CL group would start having 2. Once we hit, or on pace or hit, I'm not sure, this is not quite defined, 500,000 in revenue, which is basically 30 jobs at the average job, whatever. That 3rd board seat would transfer to you. But it also doesn't quite matter. Like, you could start with a board seat, we could have a board seat, and then that 3rd board seat from here would transfer to us. So basically the end result, if the company is operating on what we established, which is 30 job minimum, the CL group would have 2 board seats, he would have 2 board seats, and you would have a board seat. So we would come and make on big decisions, like distributing money to the company, not daily stuff, or hey, let's open this whole big branch of RV stuff. And what I wanted to say is, like, my fiduciary duty is to shareholder, but really more is to the team, for me personally, which is you guys. So, and that was my thing with Staffy. I was like, Staffy, if your numbers are getting hit, we want to have kind of the control of what do we decide to do. And for me, it's like, I want to give you feedback and talk to you through things, but I really want to back your decisions as a team and as the CEO. And I don't have any desire of being meddling in them, but I do want to have a conversation, whether it's a CL conversation around, I want to fire this person tomorrow. And I'd be like, well, before you do that, like, does it make sense for us to have the discussion about what the issue is and bring it in, that kind of thing, because that's what I would lean more. So that's kind of the thought. I don't know how that's defined, but that's the last thing that we agreed upon with him. So with that, we're going to put all that on paper and amend the operating agreement, making us a shareholder, you the officer, or whatever the title is of the document, which then gives you the power to do all these things that you just said.
Okay.
And that's just the backstory, just my conversation with Staffy on that. And that's kind of was the view, that basically, as long as you hit 30 jobs, Staffy doesn't care. And if we come up with certain things that, I think at this point, I hope you feel that, like, our desire is just to empower you to do whatever you want to do, making sure you're not missing something with your blind side of not knowing, or just maybe being below the line on some issue and not realizing, whether that's personnel or something. And as long as we work through that, I want to support you to do whatever you want to do.
That all sounds great.
Okay, good. So just wanted to catch up. So that's where we're at on that.
Perfect.
With that, I do want to ask you a question.
Okay.
And that Staffy brought this up to me, and I kind of want to ask you the thought on that, which is, we're going to the next thing, which is a staffing thing, right? Staffy's concern was, not concern, how would I put it this, because now I'm telling a story about his story, right? So I want to be really careful.
Okay.
Staffy was questioning the value / long-term track of Carson.
Okay.
And his story of my story was that Spencer is like a killer, right? He's going to go and get it done, entrepreneurial thing. Same with Hugh, same with you. He doesn't have a lot of confidence in, like, Like, is Carson supposed to become the next Spencer? Or is he just a helping dude that's going to do that? Because his point is, if you need a helper dude, he just hires park managers that are in a region, that don't need to travel, that are cheaper, that can go around and just knock out the checklist that he gives them. So if Carson isn't going to grow into the Spencer mode, that's not even his view. Like, he doesn't care. He's getting his cut. That's a variable cost. It's for you guys. So I'm just asking your opinion. So if Carson doesn't step up to the Spencer level, in Staffy's view, like, what is the path for that? So that's just the story. I have no attachment. My own view is Carson is kind of like a little bit younger, a little bit earlier, a little bit like, hey, dude, how we doing? Which is fine. But that's just something that came up. So I don't know. I haven't talked to Carson or Spencer since, a while back. So I just wanted to, get your feedback on that or any thoughts.
That was another one of my points to bring up was Carson.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah. So I have two thoughts, almost feelings on this. The first one is Carson's pay is terrible. So, like, I asked Carson, I don't know when, a few weeks ago, something now, I can't remember exactly. I said, hey, by the way, why did you want to be the recon assistant? And he's like, I did not. I wanted to be the CEO. I was like, oh shit. Like, sorry. I didn't know that. I just didn't know. All right. So I was like, okay, that's not good. I thought he just was like, he picked this role because it was like very light. He wouldn't have any responsibility and he'd make a decent amount of money for basically, just helping when he could. And so I thought he was running another company. Well, I actually don't know if that's his situation or not. It seems like he wants to be more a part of it, but he also needs to be compensated better. So I can feel from him a almost bordering on a resentment that like I'm being very careful not to ask him to do too many things because of this exact reason. But, like he's still doing all this stuff and he is contributing and he's kind of sitting on these meetings and he's, updating the Asana and the software. It's none of this is like that crazy, but it's just, he's doing stuff and he's committing to the company. I'm concerned that he feels that he's not getting paid enough and therefore is like phoning it in a little bit. Now it's too early for me to tell. And I'm uncertain if that's just his personality is to kind of slog by, or if it truly has anything to do with any other factor, whether it be pay or whatever else. So I'm honestly not sure yet. I kind of need to, I think, oh, okay.
I'm with you. I'm listening. I'm sorry.
Okay. No.
15.
That's kind of, that's really all I have. That's just where I'm at. I definitely want to talk about his kind of pay specifically. And then, Stothy definitely said the same thing to me. So,
Oh, he did. Good.
Yeah. So you're reinforcing the story he told me, and that was a while ago. And it was after the last recon in Southtown.
Okay. That's a good question because I don't know how that actual conversation went. I don't remember, Chris. If we basically, when we talked about roles, I don't know if there was on-site or CO that he wanted or whatever, but that just wasn't an option. We felt internally that you were the better fit. And at that point, I don't know. And we thought that Spencer was going to be better fit for the on-site analyst, just based on that. So, and Carson wanted to be involved.
Yep.
So that was the only thing that was available. So now the question becomes is like, it can turn into a different path for him, right? For whatever he wants, right? There's an opportunity for a conversation of like, what do you want? And if you want to
Yeah.
be the CEO, like, what does that mean? Like, when it says CEO, what are you actually talking about? And you're talking about that some of those jobs you have 6 hats, and maybe he wants to do some of those, and you won't. And that would be my point, is that, like, if you have and I'll bring this up, you're like, accounting needs to be done, I don't want to outsource and pay for it, right?
Yeah.
And our philosophy is, what is the best that you can do? And if it is something that has to do with sales and that value is high, and you can outsource something value is low and it's fairly commoditized,
Yeah.
then your pie grows, right? You can double the company faster. So maybe there's a win for all solution that involves, and I know it's early, and I understand there's few jobs and there's nothing in the pipeline. So you're like, hey, I don't want to be spending money on outsourcing things right now.
Yep.
But just to think about what is the best for the company to grow, what's the best role for you and for him. So what I'm saying is, I think this conversation probably needs to happen, right? The concern I have, and this is my own bias, is that I'm of the old school variety of you're ready to stand in front of the door before it opens, and then you're ready to walk in when it opens. It's not like you sit on the couch and then the door opens and you're like, oh, the door opened, I'm going to go ahead and go through it now.
Yes. Got it.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes. You and Stathi agree on that.
No. I'm just basing on Staffi's story.
Yeah.
I'm trusting Staffi's story. I don't know if that's what's happening. Staffi could have misunderstood it. You could have misunderstood it. But if that's the situation, then that's also part of that conversation.
Okay.
At least if you want to be a CEO and entrepreneur, the reason why I would not vote to give you that role is because you expect to be given that role before you seem like ready, right? You're ready first, it opens up. You're overqualified first, the job is there. Not the other way around.
Yeah. Very good points.
So that's my thought. Chris, I would love to hear your thoughts back on what I just said.
No, I mean, I agree with you. I'm probably a little more harsh on the fact that if the incentives don't line, then maybe there's another opportunity somewhere else. It's maybe not DDP, which we have other opportunities which could align very well with him. Maybe we filled it prematurely, just based on what his actual desires were.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Which, that's the cool part, is that maybe that's the case, but this gives us an opportunity for this conversation.
Yeah.
Right. And also some reflection. Just like I feel so grateful to be like, hey, I can reflect something to you, Justin. And you're like, oh man, I never thought about this. And you're not going like, Tim, you're a-hole, like, like whatever. You know what I'm saying? And then I'm like, yes, like I just, Justin and I talked about numbers yesterday, Chris, and we talked about the whole problem that happened with the things. And I went back and forth because I was like, the architect is 5%, architect is 3.5%. Well, it's 5% of variable cost, but it's 3.5% of total cost. I'm like, oh my God, this is the cluster F. You know what I'm saying? If I'm mixing myself up, of course people didn't get it. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate that thing. So my feeling would be is to keep Carson involved as much as we can, get on the call on 26 just to have him to be exposed to that, and then maybe set up a conversation. And that's kind of the part that I thought, I don't know, this is, I guess, Justin's the question. All these HR questions, do you want to be handling them? Do you need help on that? Do you want us to involve to check in with people to be like, hey, how are you guys doing? Like, what's your feeling on handling all of that?
I don't know if the word is enjoy. I definitely, again, it's like the accounting thing. I should be doing that, but it's not because I'm like I'm not, I have zero empathy, honestly, for people most of the time. Like it's something I struggle with, but I would like to say highly emotionally intelligent. I understand what they're going for. I just don't feel bad for anybody ever. I'm like, it could be worse, man. Like it could be way worse. So
You military guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for like the HR role, like I just have to right now, and this perhaps it's a fear, but like I feel like I have to be doing that. I have to be intimately like face to face with these guys as much as we can, especially because we're working remotely exclusively, to like really keep my finger on the pulse of what the hell's going on and adjust and support where needed. Like I help Spencer and I help Hugh a little bit with their roles, just a tiny bit, because I don't want to get stuck doing that. But like when there's some weird surge, I try and just take up some of the slack or whatever. But okay, so that was a long answer, but basically I want to keep doing that for now, the HR
Okay.
thing.
Okay. Okay. Do you need it? I mean, so you want to do it directly and have a conversation and kind of figure out what's happening and all that good stuff.
Yes, I do like
How
your
he feels
suggestion.
and all that.
Yes.
Really.
And by the way, I haven't had the talk with Carson yet. He has no water and he has no power for like 3 days. So I haven't been able to get a hold of him since like yesterday morning. But we have not had the talk about variable pay percentages yet.
Oh, okay. Does he do anything besides for show up on site and help Spencer?
He only helps with recon, but what he does for recon is like he's been doing the maps, he's been doing the travel booking, which is more involved than it sounds because a lot of these places are remote. So you fly into an airport here, then you have to drive here, and then you have to, schedule all that work, and then you need a little bit of overflow. So there's a lot of coordination that happens. Yeah, it's a little, it's not complicated, but it's complex, right?
Okay. Okay.
That's it for right now. Yeah.
Okay. Do you mind recording that conversation and having us being able to access it? Do you think there'll be value from that? I guess, let me ask you first.
Okay. Question on that before I answer it. Am I supposed to tell him that I'm showing you guys or not tell him?
Good question. I think you're supposed to disclose that. I don't know. I don't know what the legal rules. I have no idea.
Forget legal,
guess,
just like,
like ethical.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess it's ethical. Yeah, I would say man to man, but like, what,
Yeah, I mean, I guess what I would love to have. Here's what I'd love to have. I would love to have the recordings and not need to watch them, unless later we want to go back and be like, what happened?
Okay.
So I think, I think it's okay to be like, hey, by the way, I'm just going to record this call. I don't know if I am. And then later on, if it needs to be discussed, you can talk about that or not. I don't know. I really don't have a feeling on that. Any thoughts, Chris?
I think just being upfront. Hey, I'm recording it just to as a learning tool. I'd like to know if I was in those shoes.
Yeah. Yeah. And the intent is not to be like, so then later we can use this to leverage. The intent is like, what did we miss?
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
My only tiny, like my little person in my head is saying, sometimes I feel like people aren't as forthcoming with their feelings if you're, you don't get that candid. Really
Make
deep.
the call however you want to do it. Yeah.
Okay.
However you want to do it. And then we'll kind of learn from there. We haven't established any of the CL stuff, any of the foundation for having any of these conversations, besides for you and I just on the fly talking. So, we're behind on that stuff. So, I'm really hoping we can build the foundation, before we actually start having these conversations, because the way they happen could be very different.
And this could be a 30-second conversation when I say, hey, Carson, do you know, I'm just going to phrase this however, so I don't have to think about it, but like, do you realize that it seems to us like you don't care that much about this opportunity? I don't know, that maybe that's not how I would say that, but let's just say that's the general feeling of what I'm trying to convey. And he goes, oh, no, I didn't. I thought I was just here to putz along and do this assistant role. I'd really like to take on more responsibility if I had the opportunity. Then I go, okay, well, try doing that now, and I will continue to give you more responsibility when you're ready. And maybe it'll be a short conversation, something like that. And then this is a non-issue. I don't know.
Yeah. Let me quickly, just for fun of it, copy and paste that to CL format.
Okay. Yes, please do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's what it would be like. This is gonna sound, this might sound kooky, but this is really what that is. And a lot of it is that a lot of us spend time in our brain, and our somatic understanding of things is actually a lot faster. But most of us don't connect to it very well. But like different emotions, you can feel them in your body at a certain place. So for me, it would be something like, hey Carson, I feel tightness in my chest, and usually I interpret that as fear, and I'm afraid that we didn't put you in a great position. So here's my story. I think I'm afraid because we either we didn't put you in a great position, or you might not really care about this opportunity, which either A, is going to affect negatively these other people that I love and care about in this whole project, or B, I just didn't do it right by you. And that just makes me afraid because I really care and I really do want to make this happen. And I hope you know that. So I just wanted to just reveal my stories to you, and just to have you check in and see if there's any merit to that. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's a slight difference, but it's very like, it keeps all of this on your side of the fence.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely approaching it much more constructively.
It's just a different format, you know. Yeah. Before I'd be like, hey wife, if only this happened, this would be easier. You know. And now it's more like, I feel sad because I thought I said this 14 times, but maybe I didn't do it right. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, okay. So have the conversation however you want to have it, whenever you want to have it. I just wanted to address that because Staffy told it to me, and I wanted to make sure you're aware. You know,
do you guys feel like the goal should be that he is another duplicate Spencer? Like he's able to run that department like Spencer is and do the same things? Because yeah, and that is what I forgot to bring this up in the very beginning of this conversation, because when Staffy told that to me, I'm like, well, he's not running the department. And if like maybe his fear is that in the rare opportunity where Spencer is not available for some reason, that Carson could then step up and handle a recon by himself, which he's totally not capable of doing right now. And maybe that's the actual issue.
I think there's an idea that the assistant role would be a pathway for somebody to get trained for Spencer's role as you grow horizontally, potentially, but doesn't have to be. We just had an opening for somebody to help out on site. And we thought if all you have to do, no bookings, none of that stuff, if you just helicopter in for a couple of days and help out, that's a pretty decent pay. Sure.
Agreed.
And you want to learn and you like Spencer and you just kind of wanted like an easy feel into this whole thing. Yeah. That was the idea. I think Staffy is concerned because he's like, he wants redundancy, right? He's like, I don't want to go back into it. So build it.
Yeah.
So, I guess there's a decision like, how do we onboard another Spencer? And do we need to have him do some of those jobs? And if he has no desire of doing that, that's from the company perspective.
Yep.
From his perspective, I think we should have to figure out what's fun for him.
Yeah.
And be like, do you want to do any of this stuff?
Yes.
Like,
and
what are your, yeah.
The other issue is just that it's either Spencer eats or Carson eats, at least right now. If Carson's doing it, that means Spencer's not doing it. So then and then Spencer's sitting there like, why am I not doing it? So then there's a conflict there. So a little bit too tactical, but yeah.
Right now, Spencer's here and Carson is here.
Yep.
And it's up to Carson to see, here's the opportunity. Do you want it or not? And both are okay.
There,
Either one of us,
Sorry.
okay.
go ahead, Chris.
So I think though the intent wasn't to have the helper on every job. So I think that's for you guys to kind of figure out. You might not even need a helper if if Spencer feels confident or whatever.
On smaller jobs, not
Yeah,
needed.
smaller jobs there was an intent to have that.
I got it. So my concern immediately when you say that is I get the feeling from these guys that they want to, like, if there's a job they should be involved in, they should be getting some kind of pay. It maybe it with
From
the
who?
variable
Who are you
like-
talking about?
Spencer and Carson specifically, like saying if there's recon, they both want to be there, like even
I
if it's
think that-
small.
I think that's a misalignment from conversation with Carson. Yeah, and that needs to be addressed because that's not what we, the stuff his model is. He goes by himself unless it's a big job, and then he needs help.
So that makes it challenging because if he's, if Carson's picking up kind of some duties like booking and stuff, then effectively he's not available. He shouldn't be working on those jobs if he's not getting paid for them, right? So
Correct.
yeah.
But Justin, like that's just how we thought of it and how Stoppy
Yeah.
did it, right? If you want to change that and distribute the monies how you see fit for that for those roles, that I mean that where I think where that's for you, right?
Okay.
I'm just
Full
trying to explain like our thought process.
And then just on that exact same topic, if Carson doesn't go, there's a percentage that remains outstanding. Where does that go? Is that up to me?
Yes.
Okay.
As long as
Check.
as long as the 30% gets distributed to us, I personally think, and maybe Tim
As long as 30% get distributed to us, and the other 10% is in this escrow account, right? The for the overhead and for as long as that doesn't go to people, whatever is done with the rest of the 60% is your choice.
Okay. Got it.
And your trade-offs of how do I want to keep this guy happy? Do I want to do something else? Do I want to give up some of my income so I can do this thing that will double us in size? All that, whatever.
Yep. Okay, good.
Yeah.
That gives me a little bit of latitude. That's great.
Yeah. Sorry. So we're learning too. That's totally something that it was not clear, but that makes sense. We didn't, communicate. So to me, it was like a helicopter gig on the side that you do, and you make another whatever 50 grand for a few weekends.
Yeah.
A year.
I agree. I totally see that. And there's absolutely a ton of value in that for just like helping out and then getting to hang out with a couple guys that aren't that annoying, it's fun. It's fun. It could be.
I think so,
Yeah.
but not if you wanted to be the CEO and now you aren't. That
That's
might
right.
change how you see it.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, let's wrap up here. So
Okay.
generally just I'll wrap up for deal flow, there's some sales and we'll talk whatever you need to do. I just need to switch Wi-Fi. For transition, you're doing the software. For staffing, you're basically going to talk to Carson about whatever's going on.
Yeah.
Marketing, you're on that. Growth and maturity and past customers, it's a little bit early. So I don't see anything else that sticks out to me. Unless there's something else you want to cover as well.
One more thing. And this is something I was going to ask for CL's help on. So our service level agreement, if you want to call it that, like the way we communicate with clients, I like to do everything by email and just outgoing, like constantly just hit barrage, a barrage of communication. So they never have to ask. I feel like if they ask, it's a failure. So I
Okay.
want to over communicate to our clients via email specifically. And the way that I figured about doing that was creating an infographic that showed like the 10 steps, similar to how you guys presented in the brief, kind of step 1 to step 10. Anyway, I was hoping that I could get, I think is it Heather's help? No, not Heather. Hillary, there it is. Creating an infographic that basically I could send to the clients as the progress goes through, like step 1 through 10 or whatever of the whole diligence process. Is that
You basically want to show them the progress of the job so they don't have to ask you and waste everybody's time.
that's correct?
I think it's a brilliant idea. That's great. And that's the point. Yes. And that's the idea, that you should be able to leverage some of the resources and people that we have, as long as they're interested in doing it. And then some of that overhead money, if they want to charge you for something, technically there's some money to pay them. But, maybe not. Maybe they'll do it for free. I don't know. But absolutely, you have green light for that.
Okay.
Were you asking about the money part or just permission part, or?
I don't know. I didn't know if it was going to cost money or not. I guess we just wanted to start talking about it. And
I don't know. Just ask her and see, and see. But and if not, we have somebody else that would be great at that as well. For Hillary, it might take 3 minutes. Something that seems for us really long.
yeah, right. Okay. Cool.
So that's that. Anything else? My car's not here, so we're okay.
Okay. All right.
Apparently.
Nope. That's all I had for it now. Thank you. Thank you guys for taking the time for this.
Yeah. Do we want to schedule March?
Well,
Sure, the ninth-
before that, Justin, I do want to ask just real quick. I just want some feedback. Just in general, is this helpful? How would this be helpful if it's any different? In what way could we, best support you in this sense?
This is great. It's kind of like I sent you guys my only fear is that I sent the materials, then you guys kind of asked me about the materials. So really what I'm looking for is just to ensure that I don't miss something that I'm missing. So if I'm the one that's sending it, there's a small risk that I totally already missed it and it's just floating out there being unaddressed. So this is super helpful for me just to, it's like when you teach something, you learn twice kind of deal. Like even just going through the spreadsheet, I totally didn't realize that there was a discrepancy yet, so I'm sure it's explainable and I'll figure that out, but I didn't realize it. So it was just, this is good. All this is really good.
Okay.
I don't know if it needs a formal format or anything. It's kind of like, what the hell's going on? And then have you thought about this? It's perfect.
Yeah. Our only format that we thought about is, you basically build some kind of a plan for a year. You build a P&L corresponding to that plan. And then we start every month to looking as okay, where are you compared to that plan?
Yeah.
And then what else is going on or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the thought. Any thoughts on that, Chris? Good. Okay. Let's schedule March and that's it. And, from there, what I see is as long as you guys turn on the marketing thing, you keep doing the software in the background to get Stuffy out, figure out thing, with Carson and stuff, I think you'd be just fine.
Okay, great.
So, okay. What you got, Chris?
I'm good.
19th.
19th for everybody.
First
Friday.
part of the day would be great. We have our call on 19th with Deb later at 3 Central,
maybe
at least.
We do 18th.
Yep. What time you think?
You guys tell me. I'll make it work.
I'm wide open.
Okay. Let's do 10 a.m. How does that work? Central.
Okay. I'll send it out.
You send it out? All right, perfect.
Thank you.
Sounds great.
Thanks,
Justin,
guys.
great job overall. I think there are all these cool lessons to learn from that place of 1000% responsibility and ownership. And I'm excited. But in any trade-off, I would always rather take that side than the opposite. So, even though sometimes, at least for me, it's come with some heartache from feeling sometimes I'm doing all of this. Can you just handle your mother flipping part of it? So at least that's my story on that. So you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Agreed. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all. Talk soon.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.